in fairness, a brilliant new biennial tournament. There'll be games across July and November every 2 years, pitting the world's best against each other. The lines remains very much intact, so it does seem generally to have gone down very well with people, so we'll see what Matt Williams has to make of it. We'll ask him about the Ashes yesterday as well. 53106, the text number. We are at Off the Ball on Twitter. Richie McCormack, good evening to you.
Joseph, how are you?
Very well, and just like Dublin and Kerry, he only really starts making appearances, getting serious about his business around the first weekend of July. Dave McIntryre, hello.
Evening, lads. How are we doing?
Very well. So quarter-final weekend. Dave, I know you were at Croke Park on Saturday for GA Go. We, I think, in the main saw two statement performances from Dublin and Kerry is the consensus. Monaghan do what they do. Everybody loves Conor McManus. Very painful for Armagh. Derry very controlled against Cork, probably always going to win that one. And then Mayo and Tyrone with plenty of soul searching to do, I would think. That's the general summary of quarter-final weekend?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good summation you come up with there, Joe. Kerry were superb on Saturday. Comfortably the best performance they've delivered in 2023, and obviously it's coming at the right time as well. I was left using hindsight rather as a crutch to lean on after the game, however, because it's finally dawned on me, and as someone who's from Dublin and has parents from Cavan, I am as entitled to any Kerry man or woman to be paranoid when it comes to Tyrone over the last 25, 30 years, because Tyrone have inflicted an awful lot of hurt on Cavan and Dublin football fans in that time span. And in hindsight, we only gave Tyrone a chance on Saturday because they were Tyrone, and no other real reason. It wasn't really based in reality or fact. It wasn't based in the now. It wasn't based on their form over the last 2 months. They were within the John Heslin free of exiting the championship at the group stage. Why did we think they could come to Croke Park and beat the All-Ireland champions? Because they're Tyrone, and because they found a way to do it on so many occasions over the years, going all the way back to the early days of the Mickey Hart reign. But they were completely outclassed. It's as physical a performance as I've seen from Kerry in a long, long time. Even when they were winning the All-Ireland in 2014 or 2022, the amount of dispossessions, the amount of turnovers, the amount of fist-type balls that were knocked out of Tyrone ball handlers, ball carriers, the amount of times Tyrone were turned over while on the offensive in Kerry territory was incredible. That was the difference between the teams in 2021, and it was the difference between the teams again yesterday. And the team that comfortably won the turnover battle won the game. Dublin, like Kerry, say their best performance of the year for the All-Ireland quarter-final. It was a proper spanking in the second half in particular that has set Mayo back a little, and I think reality setting in for them as well as to the amount of work they have to do to close the gap and what is suddenly looking like a top two. Because go back 7 to 10 days, I was remarking to more than one person how I hadn't felt the All-Ireland Championship was as open as this for many, many years, and you could make an argument maybe for 6 or 7 teams to certainly get to a semi, if not a final. And yet here we are, Dublin and Kerry, the two form teams going into the All-Ireland semi-finals. And the more things change, they say the same.
Yes. Well, I think, and again, it is all with the benefit of hindsight, but it does feel on this Monday after the weekend that was, that Kerry and Dublin, Jack O'Connor and Desi Farrell, way back when, did circle the first weekend of July and say, realistically, come what may, doesn't really matter, we'll be there. Everything is geared towards prepping for that and peaking for that, because they both came, like, there was such a physicality, and like you just physically see the difference in Kerry, preparation wise and every other way as well, similar to Dublin. They just looked like a team that had been gearing for this weekend the whole way through, and we've kind of spent the last 3, 4, 5 months over-reading into iffy performances, whereas I think behind the scenes privately they might have said it's all irrelevant. Wait, it would talk to us in July.
Yeah, and the structure of the championship allows Dublin and Kerry, or the Dublins and Kerrys of the GA world, to reduce these games to an irrelevance, because in years gone by, prior to the qualifier system and prior to the Super 8 and prior to this new group structure, Kerry putting in a performance like they did against Mayo, they'd be out of the championship. They would be done. and there would be a new All-Ireland champions crowned this year. But they get the opportunity to throw in an iffy enough performance, well, terrible performance against Mayo. They didn't really shoot the lights out in any of their games, really, unless they beat Cork comfortably. But there were times where I thought there was still an awful lot for Kerry to work on. Dublin have played one Division 1 team all year before yesterday, and that was a drawn game against Roscommon that they were probably fortunate enough to come away with the draw. But they have all of this time to work their way through the system and to work their way through the year. They played Division 2 football this year. They beat Derry in the final, the only big performance they really needed to put in. They were beaten by Derry in the regular season of the league. They didn't really impress against Kildare. The Louth game was a washout, so was the Laois game. And they were really poor for long periods against Roscommon. But as you say, they were just putting a path together that would take them to the All-Ireland quarter-final where they would come to play. And that's exactly what they did. And now they go into a semi-final with Monaghan, overwhelming favourites. No one will give Monaghan a chance. And you fully expect Dublin to be in the All-Ireland final again, where they haven't been since they won the 6 in a row. And a chance to gain some revenge, probably over a Kerry team that beat them in that epic semi-final last year. Although I am sure there are some Derry listeners that are thinking, oh, hang on. Since the curtain fell on yesterday's quarterfinals, all the talk has been around Dublin and Kerry. What about Derry? Back-to-back Ulster championships. Have made it to the All-Ireland semi-final for the second consecutive year. Comfortable against Cork. Why shouldn't they be considered a team that's very much in the mix?
Yes. So how do you think the final will go between Dublin and Kerry? Rich, even when he scores only a point from play, Clifford steals the show. What a moment.
Yeah, he's a phenomenon. He really is, and he's one of those people that you pay your money to turn up and watch watch him play these games. Like, he has turned into that kind of marquee prospect where even even people who aren't interested necessarily in the game, or people who don't have a stake in the game, are tempted to turn over because it's something that David Clifford is playing in, and that's something really special, and that's something to behold. And it's kind of, I guess, in stark contrast to yesterday, I guess, without wanting to pick on him, but we always thought that Aidan O'Shea would be that guy for Mayo, and saw him drift into the background of yesterday's game to the point where he was taken off. But Clifford, who's stopping him, Joe?
I know. It's a beautiful thing to see him, just the full array. And even Jack O'Connor said just before the moment, he thought that two Tyrone players were about to absolutely smash him on the sideline. Like, everything was against him there. There was nothing in his favour, and he conjures that up. So like I said, even when he scores just a point from play, he kind of steals the show in certain respects. Although I think Conor McManus can say, hang on a second, it was my weekend. We should bring people a sense of what's going on in the world, Richie. It is that time of year. Strawberries and cream.
Strawberries and cream, indeed. And rain delays, Joe. A rain delay provided the only real resistance to Novak Djokovic's march into the Wimbledon second round today. The defending men's champion beat the Argentine Pedro Cachin 6-3, 6-3, 7-6, and Djokovic will play Jordan Thompson in round 2. Fourth seed Casper Ruud given a small fright today, dropping the second set en route to a 4-set victory over the world number 199 Laurent Lecoli. Seventh seed Andrei Rublev will face fellow Russian Aslan Karatsev following a straight sets win today over Max Purcell. Iga Swiatek breezed into round 2 with a 6-1, 6-3 win over China's Zhu Lin. Next up for the women's top seed is Spain's Sara Sorribes Tormo. The 4-time Grand Slam champion now says she's feeling less pressure this time around at SW19.
The thing is that last year I just felt like I still have this streak going, and after Roland Garros, kind of everybody was talking about that, and it was a lot kind of on my shoulders when I got into the tournament. Obviously, I tried to kind of just work through it and not really focus on that, what I usually do, because really I'm not looking at numbers or stats. But yeah, it wasn't easy, especially having I just played one tournament on grass, and last year that's why I think was a little bit more tricky, because I felt like rusty kind of mentally in terms of the focus, tennis wise, because I didn't play any matches on grass. So I think this year is much more comfortable for me, and for sure winning a Grand Slam this year, it feels like I kind of reached my goal, and I was really kind of happy and I could celebrate after, But last year I just felt more expectations.
Elsewhere today, women's fourth seed Jessica Pegula needed 3 sets to beat her fellow American Lauren Davis, and she'll play Christina Buksha next. In the same section of the draw, 15 seed Ludmila Samsonova lost in straight sets to Anna Bogdan. The 5th seed Caroline Garcia must face former US Open finalist Leila Fernandez next, following a 6-4, 6-3 win over Katie Volinets, the brilliantly named. Alina Svitolina is set to love and 5-2 up on Venus Williams, the 43-year-old 5-time champion there. While the 7th seed Coco Gauff has lost the first set of her match with her fellow American Sophia Kenin on court number 1.
We'll be talking to Caitlin Thompson of Racket Magazine in the next hour. You mentioned Djokovic, so fresh from winning at Roland Garros, and in Australia he now has a Grand Slam season in his sights, and he is going for a 5th Wimbledon title in a row. That would be his 8th Wimbledon in total, which moves him level with Roger Federer. His last defeat at Wimbledon is 2016, and as you mentioned, Rich, as well, if he wins Wimbledon, that's 24 Grand Slams total. That moves him level with Margaret Court's record. So he's in that amazing stage of his career where every Grand Slam win now is a new milestone. So we'll talk to Caitlin in the next hour. Nathan Collins, all good, I presume, at Brentford?
Seems to be, yeah. Nathan Collins has been undergoing a medical today ahead of signing for Brentford. The Republic of Ireland defender will become the London club's record signing at €27 million. The fee would eclipse Collins' own record as Ireland's most expensive ever player, which he broke, of course, with his move to Wolves a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it feels like a very good move for him, Dave. He should play football rather than hanging out on the Wolves substitute bench for the next 2-3 years potentially.
Yeah, it is a good move for him. It is a pity the Wolves move didn't really work out. It started pretty well, but obviously they had a managerial change then pretty soon into the season, and Lopetegui never really seemed to fancy him. And to be fair to the manager, Wolves were going very badly. That was the reason they, on more than one occasion, tried to bring him in the first place. He's a really progressive manager now that he's working under at Brentford, who still appear to be a club on the up, although it's going to become increasingly difficult for them to be able to better the result they posted each previous season. They're not going to have Ivan Toney when the new season starts either, for obvious reasons. But if it gets him playing regularly again, great. I think it's the perfect club for him, and it should come just in time for Ireland to have him back playing regularly when it comes to those huge games now in September. Hopefully he's got a good pre-season under his belt and he can continue to develop a forward-looking trajectory, which has certainly stalled in the last 6 months.
Yeah. Rich, dates and times announced for those football semi-finals?
Yeah, first up, the meeting of Dublin and Monaghan on Saturday, July 15th. That's going to have a 5:30 throw-in. Monaghan beat Armagh on penalties on Saturday evening, while that strong second-half performance saw Dublin brush Mayo aside yesterday. Mayo manager Kevin McStay was asked about their poor start to the second period.
Their press on our kick-out was very, very good. We got a bit of joy, but not enough joy, and it's frightening when they press up on you. And again, I'd say that's a rookie goalie. Like, he's a baby goalie in terms of championship and senior experience. But what he's done this year has been really, really good for Mayo, and he can be one of Mayo's big keepers the next 10 years if he wants to be. So he's had an overall season that he has to reflect and see the good parts as well. But the big experience for him today to come up against that press, and by and large he managed it. But it was a tough week. Certainly they were getting theirs much easier than we were getting ours.
It was an amazing couple of minutes. McCarthy off the throw-in sets up the Mannion point. Basquel, who had a brilliant game, obviously, then scores great point from the right-hand side on his left foot. Then Fenton pops up, fits over a point. And it was interesting, even on the TV commentary, Eamon Fitzmaurice said, Mayo just need to get the ball here. Next time the ball goes dead, they might go short with a kick out just to hold it. And the goal happened. And it's a 7-point lead and it's over. And there's no oxygen. And, that was kind of Dublin at their devastating best. And then
that started before half time though as well. There was an incident where Reap was bringing the ball out and they must have moved the ball about 15 yards for the expense of about 3-4 passes between Reap and his full back line, and they were making these runs that were cross pitches, taking 30-40 yards out of their legs for absolutely no reason, and they nearly conceded a goal from that chance. And it was needless, because up until that point they'd actually been really effective against Dublin, and they'd been a lot of really direct play. Look at that Reap pass to Ryan O'Donoghue sending over a point from about 40 yards. They were grand, I thought, for the first 30 minutes, Mayo, and then capitulated. capitulated. I'd love to know why.
Yeah, I mean,
it was really callow in that second half, really weak-willed.
Yeah, I know. It's a curious one. People point to fatigue. Maybe deep down they know the game is over after that first 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes of the start of the second half. But I agree on Mayo first half. A lot of great things.
Look how they responded after that first goal.
Yeah,
like they should have been. They did that sense of the momentum behind Dublin that should have built after that goal just never happened. Yeah. And when it didn't, and Mayo were keeping parity, I was thinking, oh, here we go. This is actually going to be pretty interesting in the second half. And for whatever reason, in those last few minutes before the halftime whistle, and then at the start of the second half, Mayo shrunk. And it was really, really awful to watch from that point of view.
Because first half, Aidan O'Shea's getting the better in the main of Davy Byrne. A few turnovers against O'Shea, but he's catching lots of high ball. He's assisting points. He's a real live threat. Ryan O'Donoghue is on top of Owen Merchant. He's having a great game. Tommy Conroy is on top of Mick Fitzsimons. So every time that's not a good one-on-one for Fitzsimons. And there was that memorable moment. McCarthy dragged Conroy down and got an early yellow card. And then at the other end, Basquel's doing very well in O'Hora, but then they make that change early. Hessian comes on, and McBride is doing very well on Con, and they're more than breaking even at midfield. They've 55% possession. Like I'd say at half time, Dave, Mayo are almost thinking, geez, we should be winning.
Yeah, well, it's always been the case in these games against Dublin over the last 10 years, Joe, that Mayo have got the better of them for large periods of the first half, and yet have had just not enough to show for it. Yes, they were very good at times yesterday, but they were losing at half time. And it again comes back to the Mayo forward line. They've never been able to score heavily enough to really do damage to a team that they're on top of. And I remember the semi-final in 2019 where they came racing out of the blocks, and they were 8-6 up at half time, having been comfortably the better team in the first half. 2 points just wasn't enough. The game was over 5 minutes into the second half. For me, the big story of Dublin this year has been Colm Basquel. Where has this lad come from?
I know.
He made his debut in the championship 5 years ago. The game against Laois in the opening round of the Leinster Championship this year was his first championship appearance in 2 years. He reminds me of the Ray Cosgrove summer of 2002, where he just can't miss. Every time he gets a chance, he seems to have the confidence, the time, and the belief that he's going to stick it away. He took his 2 goals yesterday so well. The first one in particular, when he caught that long ball in. He's adding 2 or 3 points from play to his performances as well. And this is a guy who has been really a stellar player in Dublin Senior Club Championship over the last 4 or 5 seasons, but many didn't really feel he just had that extra gear to click into that was required to be a success at the inter-county level. Well, this season he's showing that I don't know what the reasons for it are, whether he's changed something. Would be interesting to sit down and chat to him and get a real insight into what has been different for him. Is it down to Desi Farrell? Something's going very right for them, and he has always been like a new acquisition, even though he's far from a rookie. It feels like he is this year, like almost like the belief that, or the impact that Sherlock had in 95. Basquel is coming in, and suddenly in a forward line that could potentially have Mannion and Con and Kieran Kilkenny and Costello, he's leading the way.
Yes, at 27 years of age, overnight sensation. Fellas, stay with us. Very short ad break, and then we'll continue the news round. Back in 1 sec.
Off the ball on Newstalk.
The furniture sale is now on at Flanagan Kerrins. There's discount on all stock. Yes, all stock, including beds, mattresses, sofas, tables, chairs, pianos, beanbags, rugs, half-price mirrors, pictures and lamps, gifts, and even special orders. You also get free assembly and free recycling of your replaced bed or mattress. Flanagan Kerrins, Southern Cross Bray. Sale now on. Flanagan Kerrins, furniture for life.
Fuel to win €50,000 with Top. Plus, get chances to win €5,000 every month. Sign up at topoilwin.ie and fuel to win with Top.
Hey, what are you doing tomorrow morning at 10:30? Any plans? Well, if you plan on buying a car soon, then you might want to get to Merlin Car Auctions. Every Tuesday and Friday at Merlin, we have over 120 cars to choose from. Viewing starts at 8:30 a.m. and the auction starts at 10:30. Check out the Merlin Car Auctions catalogue, available today from 3 p.m. at merlin.ie.
Ever been on a fabulous Irish holiday and thought, wouldn't it be great if I could just move the office down here? That's where Connected Hubs comes in. Because with 300 hubs dotted around the country, no matter where you are in Ireland, you've got all the facilities you need to stay on top of things back home. So, whether you're making memories with the family, catching up with friends, or just fancy a change of scenery, Connected Hubs is your out-of-office office. Visit connectedhubs.ie to find out more. Connected Hubs is part of Our Rural Future, a Government of Ireland initiative.
Looking for a memorable getaway? Look no further. This summer, live the moment at Castleknock Hotel. Immerse yourself in our stylish rooms, unwind by the pool, savour mouth-watering cuisine at our award-winning restaurant, or embrace the lively ambience of our 2 sun-filled patios. And when it's time to explore, our prime location puts you right in the heart of the action. Explore more at castleknockhotel.com.
What makes us love our county so fiercely, despite all the summers of hurt? What lifts us back up year after year after year? What stirs such passion in our hearts and brings us out in our thousands? It's something intangible, deep in our veins. It's our county. It's our people. It's in our blood. AIB, the toughest. Proud sponsors of the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Now then, you're very welcome back. We're continuing the news round. Busy show on the way. We'll talk tennis with Caitlin Thompson. We'll talk GAA with Darren O'Sullivan and Colm Basquel very shortly. Matt Williams on the football show. And just to mention as well, you may have seen The Athletic published a lengthy piece today about Vera Pauw's time at Houston Dash, and they spoke anonymously to 4 former Dash players and 3 staff about her season in charge, and those players and staff were critical of Pauw's approach. The FAI have released a statement saying they remain fully focused on supporting Vera and the women's team as they continue their preparation for the first World Cup in Australia, and we will not be making any further comment on this article. We have reached out to the journalists who worked on that piece for The Athletic, and we're going to speak to one of them on tomorrow night's show, so we will come to that story in due course. Dave McIntryre, Richie McCormack are still with us. Rich, the other semi-final, of course, on the Sunday?
Yeah, Derry going to play Kerry on Sunday, July 16th. That will have a 4 p.m. start. Kerry proved too strong for Tyrone on Saturday, as Dave mentioned there. Well, Derry beat Cork by 4 points yesterday. Oakleaf manager Kieran Meena was asked by Aisling O'Reilly if they've proved doubters wrong that they can't perform at HQ.
I think that's very unfair commentary, you know. It's cheap, and it's easy to say that, you know. We've played here now, this is our 5th time in under 2 years to play here. These players have played Hogan Cup finals, they've played a lot of the minor finals here, they've played a lot of underage football here. They're well familiar with it. We said that coming in today. We're coming to Croke Park, and it's starting to become a habit for us. We like coming here. I think our players, in terms of athletically, in terms of the physical nature of our players, I think we're built to play in Croke Park, but that's just my opinion. I know there's a lot of commentary to the contrary out there, but so be it. Hopefully it'd be nice if we could keep proving people wrong, you know. Yeah, and there was a moment in the game when Conor Doherty got the goal. It came from Rory Maguire, was up the other end, he got a goal, and the next attack Derry went down and scored. How satisfying was it to react like that? Look, Aisling, that was huge. It wasn't just the 3 points, it was the psychological nature of it. We spoke about that. We spoke about in the last number of games how dangerous Cork were on momentum, particularly when they turned over off their heavy press and kickouts, and when they turned you over, and if they got big scores, they tended to. We talked about that. We knew it was going to happen during the game, but it was about how we responded. So in terms of Conor going up the field and getting a goal from it, it was worth more than 3 points. It was a huge psychological blow to Cork, and for us from that point on, it was for the ability to manage the game out then. So yeah, it was very, very satisfying.
We'll talk to Colm Basquel and Darren O'Sullivan in due course. I don't think they enjoyed that game as much as you have to give thumbs up to what the Derry footballers did. The lads didn't find it the most thrilling contest. Do you feel, Dave, of Derry or Monaghan either has a better chance in the semi-final in particular?
Look, they're running into a Kerry team that obviously played some brilliant stuff on Saturday afternoon. I would give Derry a chance because they're an incredibly difficult team to play against. They're unbelievably organised and well drilled. But on an off day, I would give Kerry the nod every time. I'm not sure where the argument comes that Derry are unable to succeed in Croke Park. It's more that they haven't actually had their statement win in Croke Park yet. I mean, the 2 championship wins have come against a Clare team that were demolished very early in an All-Ireland quarter-final, and against a Cork team that's really only starting to turn the ship around in the last 12 months, and we're beaten by Clare in the Munster Championship this year. And I still have an awful lot of road to travel down if they're to become a Division 1 team, and they only actually finished 4th or 5th in Division 2 this season. So until they actually take out a big gun in Croke Park, that is going to be something people will say. When is the last time Derry won a big championship match at HQ? They haven't done it yet under Gallagher and Meena. It could be 2 weeks' time, but until that happens, people will say that this Derry team have yet to actually take that extra step.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Rich, do you want to give us the last story or two?
I should mention that Alina Svitolina has indeed beaten Venus Williams and now Coco Gauff up a break in the second set of her match with Sophia Kenin, having lost the first set there. But Newcastle have made Sandro Tonali the most expensive Italian player of all time. They've paid AC Milan €70 million for the 23-year-old midfielder. Tonali has signed a 5-year contract at St James's Park, while former Republic of Ireland international Stephen Reid has rejoined the coaching staff at Nottingham Forest. The ex-Blackburn midfielder returns as a first-team coach, a role that he held when Forest won promotion from the Championship in 2022. Reid left last season to become a specialist coach, offering support to players around mental well-being, confidence and leadership, and he spoke about that as well on the show here recently. And Jasper Philipsen won today's third stage of the Tour de France, getting the better of a sprint finish into Bayonne. Adam Yates retains the leader's yellow jersey with a 6-second lead over the two-time champion Tadej Pogacar.
Very good. We are just about out of time. Richie, thanks a mil. Appreciate it.
Nice one, lads.
Dave McIntryre, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Your chance to win big. News Talk's Summer Cash Machine.
So another rollover today, which means if you've entered since 5 o'clock on Wednesday, then you're still in to win, but you do need to know the new number, which is 81,700.